This year, in the Director's Lecture Series, the title is Meet the Players. For those of us who deal with the creation-evolution controversy, it is an ongoing controversy that never stops, because the evolutionary community is always coming up with new candidates after their old stars have faded away and have proved not to be in the human lineage. They're always coming up with new candidates to prove that man descended from a lower life form, from an ape-like creature. But the real evidence doesn't show that. The real evidence shows that man, early man, was just as intelligent as, probably more intelligent than, our modern generation. And I'll show you archaeologically and genetically before the next hour is out how we know that to be the case. In January, I introduced the first item on the docket, Meet the Players, the original scientific manual. Do you know there's only one book that substantiates itself, that can be demonstrated archaeologically, historically, prophetically, grammatically, mathematically from the standpoint of the laws of probabilities, to show itself to be absolutely perfect? The Scriptures. That was January. In February, I talked about Lucy, the poster girl of evolutionary theory. And at that time, we had just acquired our replica of Lucy. If you will look to the right at that corner, those near the front can't see it, but just around the curve, those are the exact replicas of the bones of Lucy. It took us years to be able to get those. That's what they found. And if you look closely to the side, there are signs indicating that everything about Lucy matches Australopithecine afarensis, an ape, simply an ape. Nothing about her parallels mankind. She is not in our lineage, but she is the star. She's the poster girl. Then last month, in March, I talked about Meet the Players, the hoax twins. There were two candidates that were placed in our evolutionary history, supposedly tying us with ape. We have no evolutionary history. We have a devolutionary history. We're losing ground. And I'll prove that to you scientifically before this hour is out from the technical reports. But supposedly, there were two candidates. One was Piltdown Man, who from the scratch was an outright fraud, discovered in East Sussex, England in 1912. Took 2 years to excavate the fragments. And it took until 1953 for it to be found that he was an outright hoax, a fraud. In fact, over 500 doctoral degrees were granted at major universities. Over 500 doctoral degrees granted from the dissertation substantiating Piltdown Man as being genuine. But he was a fraud. Well, now, did any of those universities require those PhDs to be returned, Dr. Caldwell? Not one. Not one. Is that good science? That's fraud. And the other hoax was the Nebraska Man. Nebraska Man was, according to Dr. Henry Fairfield Osborne, during the Scopes evolution trial, so-called monkey trial, Dr. Osborne said, this is the best evidence in the Western Hemisphere substantiating that man came from a lower life form. And it was a molar. And if you look at it closely, it looked a lot like a human molar, but it looked a lot like an ape molar at the same time. Well, now, apes have to chew nuts and hard grubs. Molars work on a lot of created beings. Now, it was used in the Scopes evolution trial to introduce evolution into the public school system. Then in 1926, The discoverer, Harold Cook, geologist Harold Cook, went back to the gravel pit where he had made the discovery and found the rest of the skeleton. The question is, did it turn out to be an ape-like man or a man-like ape? Neither of the above. Turned out to be a pig, a peccary. That's the Dr. Dwayne Gish, my late friend and brilliant geneticist or microevolutionary scholar, now with the Lord. Dr. Gish said, well, the evolutionist used a pig to make a man out of an ape, but the pig made the monkey out of the man. Pretty sharp. All right, so just a pig, an outright hoax, and it was known pretty early. Yet, as I showed you last month, in the line of progression used in National Geographic, Scientific American, and other publications, the trail of our descent from apes, so-called, still leaves Eanthropus, which was the Piltdown man, and leaves Hesperopithecus, which was the Nebraska man, in our lineage. That is outright fraud. That's evolutionary propaganda. So here at Creation Evidence Museum, we want you to know the truth. So today, let's talk about Neanderthal man.